Good morning, everybody. It's a Wednesday morning on Morning Line on AM 560 KWTO. I'm Bonnie Bell, John Henderson producing. And right off the bat this morning, to start everything off, Senator Roy Blunt joining us. Good morning, Senator Blunt.
Morning, Bonnie. Nice to be talking to you.
How you doing?
Good. If I was home and in the studio instead of on the phone, it would be even better. I'm doing good, and I think the Congress is not great yet.
No.
Congress is doing a little better. The Senate is doing a little better than it has certainly the last 4 years, and I hope that continues. We have the first budget since 2009, since the first year President Obama was president. We finally have a budget that the House and Senate hadn't only both done, but then both agreed to, and the first budget since 2001 that would intend to actually become a balanced budget within the window of the budget itself. So not great steps, but great steps compared to where the Senate has been the last 4 or 5 years.
Senator Blunt, you just recently finished your second tour of all of Missouri's 114 counties, which, by the way, congratulations. But I was wondering, was there like any one common concern that you heard out of the constituency when you were going across the state?
I've done more than 1,000 public events in the state since I was sworn into the Senate, and been in at least 230 of those have been in all 114 counties in the city of St. Louis. So I did just get every county a second time, which I will guarantee you is a record in terms of being around our state. But I think the answer to that question is that what I really saw happen over the course of that 4 years and a handful and a couple of months is that people still continue to have an overwhelming concern about jobs and job opportunity, but people's concern about national security and our role in the world dramatically higher as a concern that people have than it was 4 years ago. 2010, 2011, 12, 13, some sense that, well, it doesn't really matter what the United States does. Somebody else will take care of bad people who want to do bad things. And Missourians clearly don't believe that anymore. They understand that if we don't stand strong in the world, bad things immediately rush to fill that vacuum that the United States leaves.
So, when they're giving you their concerns, what do they want you to do? Because that's not an easy solution.
It's not an easy solution, and it's particularly not an easy solution when we've sent the message that we won't act.
Yes.
When you draw red lines and deadlines and then they don't mean anything, then it's much harder to do what needs to be done. The Eisenhower view of the world, the Reagan view of the world, the peace through strength. Our enemies believe we'll do whatever is necessary. Our friends trust us to do whatever is necessary. And then you seldom have to do what's necessary because people believe you will. And you're exactly right, Bonnie. It's hard to put that back in the in the equation of how the world looks at world events in the United States. A lot of concern about a nuclear weapons capable Iran. Those things have been added to the equation, but still out there as a major discussion every day and everywhere is what about private sector jobs? What can we do to take advantage of more American energy? What are we going to do to get these regulations that don't make sense, that raise our utility bills and make it difficult to do anything because of regulations that just don't meet the cost-benefit analysis of why you'd add this one more thing with so little to gain and such a big price to pay. That is still out there, and it's out there everywhere. There are a couple of regulations out there now called, and they always have pretty good names, Clean Power, which would have a dramatic impact on our utility bills because it's focused on coal specifically, but fossil fuels generally. And the waters, so-called waters of the U.S., where the EPA has suddenly decided that their jurisdiction over navigable waters puts them in control of almost everything. And those are both economically destructive to poor people, to young people who'd hope to have better job opportunities. So those things are still out there. But I think that people are beginning to develop a resolve that we want to see as Missourians, and I believe that would go across the country, that people want to see the government do things that would make sense if a family had to make those same decisions.
On Monday, Senator Blunt, I had a listener who made a comment that I'm going to tell you because I'd like to get your reaction to it. Here in Missouri, we're going to end up probably with a gas tax, an additional gas tax because of our roads and bridges. And he called in and he said, I find it fascinating that I have to pay more money in order to get my money back from the federal government, because I'm going to have to pay this gas tax in order to meet a federally mandated dollar amount for them to give me back transportation dollars. I thought it was rather ironic, and I thought he made a very interesting point.
It is, but the other point that needs to be made here, and this is a Jefferson City decision on whether we add to the state gas tax or come up with some other amount of money. But the other point that needs to be made here is, if you drive the same miles you drove 10 years ago, unless you've really made bad decisions about what vehicle to drive, you're paying less into the highway fund than you were 10 years ago, but you're using it every bit as much as you were 10 years ago. And you may be paying more for gas, but the gas tax is not a percentage of the gas. It's a per gallon fee. And so if you're driving vehicles that get better gas mileage, you're still doing the same amount of wear and tear on the road, but you're not paying as much into the highway fund as you used to. And both the states and the federal government have to figure out that. One of our great advantages where we live is we are truly the transportation hub of the country. But if you don't take advantage of that by maintaining the road system, the bridge system, figure out how you get on water with things we make and things we grow when you get to the water, we just as well not be in the transportation hub of the country. And both Washington, D.C. and Jefferson City have to figure out a way forward for a highway plan. Now, to the specific request, the suggestion that the person made, while I've been in the Congress, for the first time ever, Missouri started getting more money back than they sent in. We were always a donor state until this about 5 or 6 years ago. Senator Bond and I particularly were in a place where we could work to get our money back for the first time. But you can't expect the federal gas money to come back from other states, particularly, if, in fact, we don't have enough money locally to do our part. This is appropriately a partnership unless you want to devolve all the money back to the state. And if you did, our state would be now just about even. We put just about as much money in as we get back, except there's a bunch of general revenue that now goes into the highway system because of the thing I mentioned earlier. People driving the same miles, using the highway the same amount of time, are putting less money in through the gas tax than they used to.
I promised everybody I would get you out of here by 7:15, and it is now 7:15. And so I'm going to say thank you for joining us. And next time you're in Springfield, stop by the studio.
Well, I'd love to do that. I'm in this weekend. I don't think I'm going to be there in time to come by Friday, and I have to before I could be there Monday. But next time I'm there I can come in. I would love to be in the studio talking to you there about what's going on.
That'd be great.
Bonnie.
Thanks a lot, Senator Blunt. You have a great day. Senator Roy Blunt joining us right off the top of the hour.